Hey guys, Pastor Tanner here. So my man Seamus left me not one, but two comments asking about notes and highlights in Logos Bible software. This is an important topic, and I think a lot of people are wondering how to get the best value out of this tool in Logos. So here is the video, Seamus. I hope you enjoy. Now, in this video, I'm not trying to be comprehensive. There are a lot more things you can do with the notes and highlights in Logos Bible software, but I want to give you two ways of utilizing them. The first way is going to be the easiest, most lazy way of implementing it so that you can get about 70% of the value out of the software when it comes to notes and highlights. The second way pushes it a little bit further. I'm going to show you how to use the notebook tool in order to get about 90% of the value. Of course, you can go much deeper than this, but this should serve as a good introduction to get you using these tools and get the best value for the minimal time investment. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, first let's start with the easy way when it comes to implementing notes and highlights in Logos Bible software. Just jump over here to Tools and open up your highlighting panel. Now this highlighting panel is customizable. Okay, you can click New Palette here and implement a full new palette of highlights. You can implement whatever you'd like, and you can start to put in all of these different highlight styles and add new styles, and you can change all of the different borders, the different colors, and everything like that to try and get the effects that you're looking for when it comes to your highlights. So this is really nice if you want to create your own highlighting styles, but I just go ahead and use the basic styles. Now, if you are going to create your own styles, here's just an example of that. You can create different highlight styles for different things that you're trying to do. Sometimes when I'm reading and I find a good illustration, maybe I want to have my own highlight for that. Or if I just have a quote that I like, maybe I want to highlight. Maybe a verse gives me specific inspiration. Maybe I have a highlight for that. So here are some of those examples. But in reality, the basic highlights that are offered I find to be very valuable. Here is the solid colors highlighting panel that comes default. And here are just a bunch of colors that I utilize. Now, it's at this point that I want to give you my first trick. When you go down to your highlight style, you can actually assign a hotkey to these highlights. I like this very much. That way, you don't have to leave the highlighting panel up in order to use it. Just click this drop-down menu, find the shortcut key, and then you can go ahead and type that in. Notice that I assigned yellow to Z, and that's the one I use primarily. Okay, now when you are just basic highlighting this way, I would encourage you to maybe assign 1, 2, maybe 3 colors to your highlights in your hotkeys, and then just go to town with those. You can bring up whatever book you're interested in. You can go ahead and start reading through it, and you can just start hitting your keys and making those highlights how you want. That's perfectly fine, and it's going to go ahead and log all of those highlights. Remember, this is the easy way of implementing it, and you can just use the same highlights throughout all of your books, and it's going to go ahead and highlight those things, and I'm going to show you a little bit later how to get access to them. It's a little bit messier in terms of keeping track of everything, but it gets the job done. Now, once you've made your highlights, I also want to show you about how to implement notes, okay? The lazy man's way of implementing notes is to just click New Note here and to go ahead and start taking notes, okay? So you can type in whatever you want here. Maybe I type in accountability, that's my note, and then further down, I type something like nobody has any of it. There you go. There's my note. I've put in a new note. Logos will automatically save this and implement it as a new note. Okay, so we'll come back to this later and I'll show you how this works. These are how you take highlights and notes on the base level. Notice that I didn't categorize my note. I didn't do anything like that. I just opened new note and I started typing. Now I want to show you a little bit later how it starts to categorize that note. Right now my library is indexing that note because I'm going to be able to search it later. And this is why the lazy man's way can actually be valuable. Because of the search function in Logos, it's pretty powerful and you can go ahead and dig in. Let me just bring up the notes document and I'll show you how. So yesterday I was reading in the NIVAC out of the Hebrews volume, that's the New International Version Application Commentary, Hebrews, written by George Guthrie, and I was taking some highlights, the lazy man's way. I was just going through and highlighting things using my hotkey, and you can see here is one of the notes. I just click on it and it has it right here, okay? And here's a quote that I just found that was very interesting from George Guthrie, and I highlighted it in the lazy man's way. Now, I want you to know that you can access your previous highlights and your notes, but you need to go about it in a few different ways. One of the easiest ways to access all of your highlights and your notes is through using the search box. Now, what you need to do when you do this is you need to not be searching in all resources. Instead, you need to search everything. So if I click down here and click everything, and then I go ahead and search for Bible, Hebrews chapter 2, verses 1 to 4, in everything, and hit enter, notice there's a section here called Your Documents. Your Documents is going to hold your notes and your highlights. The standard notes are stored under No Notebook. That's the standard notes. They're stored under this actual place. So if you click No Notebook, that's where you're going to find it. And as you can see, I have found those notes that I was highlighting yesterday in NIVAC. Now, why did it find these? It's because I was highlighting in a commentary that was already versified. And because of that, it anchored those highlights by default to the passage, Hebrews 2, 1 to 4. That's why it was able to find this. So if you're taking highlights in the Bible or in a versified document like a commentary, it's going to go ahead and put in these anchors for you automatically. I didn't have to do any additional work. Now, something you need to know, however, is that you're not going to be able to find this specific highlight when you search for it in the search pane. And what I mean by that is I looked for the anchor, it was able to find it. But let's look for a word in here. Look at this word accountability, okay? Accountability right here. You would think if I searched for accountability in the everything section of my search box that I would be able to find that highlighted note. But if we scroll down and look through, notice that none of these are my NIVAC highlight. It doesn't pull it up. Why? Because a highlight is not stored in this way. It found the Hebrews 2 reference because that is versified. It has an anchor. But it didn't find the accountability reference because I only highlighted it. What this is doing is searching all of my notes documents for any time the word accountability pops up in my notes. What I'm trying to get you to see here is that if you want to find the specific text of your highlights, you're going to have to search for it in a different way. Let me just bring up NIVAC itself, the Hebrews version, and I'll show you how. Okay, so here I have NIVAC Hebrews by George Guthrie. And I remember I highlighted something that had the word accountability in it. So what you need to do is you need to open the search box by clicking on this magnifying glass. Then you need to click all text, and you are just looking for your highlighting palette. Well, I put mine in solid colors. Okay, now I'm searching for all of the solid colors in this commentary. Now if I type in the word accountability, it's going to find my highlight because I went to the specific resource and I typed the word in under the palette itself. So that's how you want to look for your highlights themselves and search in that pane. You're not going to want to look for those using the everything search. However, the everything search is going to find where your notes take account of these things, and it's going to find all of the anchors that are available. Finally, I want to show you one more thing so that you have all of the highlighting and notes things you need the easy way. And this is the visual filters pane. So if I just open NIVAC Hebrew again, and you can see I've searched before. We can go ahead and search for the word accountability again. Here it is. Here's the highlight I took yesterday. Now, when I'm reading through the book, I may have multiple highlight groups that I have available to me, and I don't want them all to display at the same time. To turn your highlights on and off, just click the Visual Filters tab. That's these three dots here. And notice if you scroll down, your notes and highlights are underneath here. Mine are under No Notebook because I didn't assign a notebook to them. I can just toggle them off and they disappear. No problems. I can read the book without those. If you have multiple highlight styles that you're using, you're going to have each of the notebooks available down here, and you can toggle them on and off individually. And that's the easy way, guys, of doing all of the highlights. Just know the hotkeys, set those up, understand how to search for your highlights, like I showed you, and understand how to search your notebooks using the everything search. Once you've done that, you're 75% of the way there. Don't get me wrong, it's not very organized, but you have everything, and you haven't had to put in a lot of effort ahead of time in order to organize it. So that's the easy way of using highlights and notes. You'll get 75% of the value out of that. Let me show you now just a few quick insights about how to use notebooks in order to get up to that 90% value range. So the better and more organized way of utilizing notes in Logos Bible software is through making notebooks. And you can do this through just opening the Tools panel, click on Notes, and I can just go ahead and expand this. And you can see here that it just lists all of my notes, everything that I've taken. I usually do it the lazy way. Now, if you have this 3-dash panel, you can open it and you can get some way of searching through your notes, but utilizing notebooks themselves is more helpful. And you do that by clicking on this Notebooks button here. Now, I would recommend that before you start a heavy campaign of taking highlights and notes, you actually make notebooks for the studies that you're doing. And the way you do that is just click this plus sign here. And let's say I want to make a notebook on my personal Bible reading. And now I've made a notebook out of it. Now I've got a lot of notebooks here, so I'll just search for it. Personal. And there it is, my personal Bible reading, currently no notes in it. Okay? The reason I wanted to make this notebook is now when I do my personal Bible reading, I can actually take notes in this specific palette and associate them with the Bible verses. Remember when I talked about anchors earlier? This is how you anchor your specific notes to Bible verses themselves in order to get maximum value. So if I open the ESV here, I'll pull it off to the side. And you can see I've got my personal Bible reading notes here. And let's say I just find this passage really interesting. Now I highlight it, and I did it in the lazy man's way. Note that it brought this up, but because I have my personal Bible reading notebook open, it immediately put that note in there. And so as I go through and I highlight things, it's going to go ahead and add these notes to this notebook. Of course, in the visual filters, I can turn these notes on or off. If I just scroll down and I turn on or off my notes or notebooks, okay, personal Bible reading on or off, and you can see it changes the highlight there. But you can go ahead and take notes in this way. And what this is doing is it's making these highlights and it's anchoring those highlights to these specific Bible verses. That's really helpful because now you have a notebook full of all of your personal Bible reading insights and they are anchored to specific verses themselves. It can be really helpful to utilize notebooks in this way because those anchors are automatically added and you have all of the notes that are similar to each other in the same section. You're just doing your regular Bible reading, sometimes in Leviticus, maybe sometimes in 2 Chronicles, and as you take notes, you are accumulating them all in a common area. You can search this notebook in particular, or the anchors are assigned, so when you're searching all of your notes, those anchors are going to be in place for you. You can turn this notebook itself on or off, so they show or don't show, and having them all collected in that way in related content senses allows you to have more organization over your notes. Not only that, you can change individual notes. You can change how they're noted. Here, I just used my standard highlight, but once they're in here, I can absolutely change how they look. I can customize them. I can actually put a little note in the corner here as I'm reading so it pops up, and I can turn those on or off. So what you should do in the beginning, if you want greater organization over your notes, is you want to go ahead and create notebooks specific for certain things. You can create them for specific theological topics. Maybe you have a Christology notebook. Maybe you have a theology proper notebook. Maybe you have a biblical theology notebook. Or you can create it for specific books that you're reading. Maybe you have a notebook for all of your Bible notes. Maybe you have a notebook for all of your reading in the unseen realm, and you specifically put all of those notes in those notebooks. Now, all of those notebooks themselves are going to have one set of collections, and that is going to be much more organized for you to work through in the future. Now, one final question you might have, and here's the second secret way of organizing your notes, and that is, what if I want to collect information across multiple notebooks? In order to do that, you are going to want to utilize tags, okay? Tags are down here below at the bottom of your notes, and notice that anchors are in place in one way, but tags are in place in another way. So I can come down here to tags, and I can type right here, Old Testament, for example. I'm just creating my own tag, and I've called it Old Testament. Now, this note has Old Testament associated with it. And if I go to this Leviticus note, I might want to also give it the Old Testament tag. Notice my tag populates and I just click it. Now, if I'm searching my notes later and I'm not in a specific notebook, I'm just in all of my notes here, well, I can open this side panel and I can actually look specifically for my tags. So if I just scroll down, I'm looking for tags. Here are my tags, and I'm specifically looking for that Old Testament tag that I made. Here are all of my notes that I took using the Old Testament tag. And so when you take notes, if you're a little thoughtful about it, you put them in the right notebooks, you give them the right tags, now you have a lot of organization over your notes. Okay, guys, that's it for me. I just wanted to give you a brief introduction to the notes and highlights tools. I'm going to be honest, I use them the lazy man's way. This is partially because notebooks didn't exist a few versions ago, and I got used to just highlighting and taking notes at will, and I find that works for me. It's a little bit messier, but it gets the job done for me, and I'm not often referencing those old notes. But if you like organization, take advantage of the anchors and the tags. Anchors allows you to tie a note or a highlight to a specific Bible verse, and then you can search for those, and tags allows you to tie notes and highlights to each other through any keywords that you choose. If you implement either of those ideas, you're going to get a lot more organization over your notes. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Please hit the like and subscribe button. We appreciate all of your participation in watching our videos and leaving your comments down below. Let me know if there's anything else you would like me to cover. I want to continue to serve your guys' needs. Hopefully this was helpful. Appreciate all your love and support. Take care. God bless. Bye.